Up to this point, we've discussed Madison's theory and how his ideas are embodied in the U.S. Constitution. Now we turn to an empirical examination of Madison's theory. That is, we will take it apart piece by piece and carefully test Madison's descriptions and his predictions. That is what science is about, testing theories. Let's take a moment to review Madison's theory in preparation for the remainder of this course. Madison's normative theory focuses on dispersed power. To control the effects of faction, political power should be dispersed across political institutions. Madison placed those institutions into conflict. By providing for checks and balances, he believed that he created a structure that would limit the power of government while allowing individuals to pursue their self-interest. In the graphic, each box represents a complex concept in Madison's theory. A concept is an abstract idea, a general notion that represents a more complex entity. The box titled Self-Interest represents Madison's conception of self-interest, as we've discussed. Arrows in the graphic indicate causal relationships within the theory. The concept on the left end of the arrow is the theoretical cause of the concept on the right end of the arrow, the effect. The arrow is associated with what I call a how story. Based on our understanding of Madison, self-interest causes faction. The arrow suggests an explanation for how self-interest causes faction, how the cause results in the effect, how self-interest causes faction. Think about it for a minute. How does Madison argue that self-interest causes faction? Madison argues that self-interested individuals join together to promote their common interests. That is the causal logic that links the two concepts in a causal relationship. Examining that relationship allows us to compare Madison's theoretical logic to empirical evidence, to reality, to ask, is that really true? Is that really true? As scientists, we want to see the evidence. Science focuses on testing the relationships within the theory. We do not test theories in their entirety. We test hypotheses suggested by the theory. If the evidence supports a hypothesized relationship, it gives us reason to believe the theory. If it fails to support the causal conjecture, that gives us reason to doubt the theory. As the evidence piles up over time, we look to see how the evidence weighs out. Does it mostly support the theory? Does it mainly not support the theory? That is how we determine the overall usefulness of a particular theory. However, any one finding, pro or con, does not determine whether a theory is useful or not. We can't say, well, because the theory cannot explain this one thing here, we reject that theory. That's called throwing the baby out with the bathwater. As a parent and as a scientist, that is a bad idea. It is the weight of all of the evidence that concerns us. Any one or two contrary findings can be a matter of chance or just bad research. We don't throw the inconsistent finding away, we leave it there as a reminder. Someday, we may come back to explain the problem or modify the theory to accommodate that finding. Since self-interest is the cornerstone of Madison's theory, and Madison suggests that controlling the effects of faction is paramount, this is a good place to start our examination of his theory. Let's remind ourselves about Madison's conception of self-interest. At the root of Madison's theory is his conception of self-interest. Recall that Madison believed that humans are self-loving, passionate, partial, and only sometimes rational. Madison believed that individuals are goal-oriented. We want lots of things: a car, a life partner, a house, a college education, a good job, and so much more. We want lots of things. Among the things that we want, government may provide. We might want an affordable education, good roads, public parks and spaces, clean air, clean water, and personal safety, to name just a few. According to Madison, as self-interested individuals, we will join in collective action with others to achieve these goals. We will vote in elections. We will support our favored candidates with money and effort. We will join interest groups, engage in protest, even take part in rebellions like the U.S. Revolutionary War. Madison believed that self-interested individuals will participate in elections out of self-interest. In particular, when local factions are seeking to gain representation of their interest in representative bodies. Elections would be competitive, hard-fought, drawing many candidates promising to pursue the interests of the factions within their constituencies. When up for re-election, incumbent candidates, that is, the person who's currently serving in office, the incumbent, would draw multiple challenges. Self-interest is how we choose our representatives, and their interest in being re-elected will cause them to pursue their constituents' goals. Self-interest here, self-interest there, self-interest everywhere. At this point, I want to introduce a competing conception of self-interest: cost-benefit self-interest. Cost-benefit self-interest is a challenge to Madison's instrumental conception of self-interest. The cost-benefit conception introduces two important considerations that are not present in Madison's conception. First, the concept of limited resources. Each of us has a pool of resources that we draw on to achieve our goals, and those resources are limited. We only have so much time, so much energy, so much money, so much education, so much social status. Our resources are limited. Everyone's resources are limited. Bill Gates may have billions of more dollars than I do, but his wealth is limited. Conversely, I have more education than Bill Gates. He's a college dropout from Seattle. I'm a near high school dropout with a PhD from Seattle. I have more formal education than Bill Gates. That is to say, all of us have limited resources available to us. Some have more resources than others, but our resources are limited. We all have 24 hours in a day. In that regard, we're all equal, and there's no way to change that. The reason that differential resources are important is that they shape our choices. We have to deal with the issue of opportunity costs. Once we use some of our resources to achieve a goal, those resources are no longer available to utilize to achieve another goal. For instance, you wake up in the morning, you're groggy, and you could use some coffee to give you some energy. But you're also hungry. You sure would like one of those breakfast sandwiches with the egg and the cheese. With $1 in your pocket, you saunter down to the corner store. There you see a sign. Coffee, $1. Breakfast sandwich, $1. You have $1 in your pocket. Which are you going to choose? Go ahead. There's no wrong answer. Did you choose the breakfast sandwich? Wrong. You chose the cup of coffee. It will give you energy, and it's an appetite suppressant. Now, seriously, here's the thing. Whichever you chose, what did it cost you? Was it more than $1? From the cost-benefit perspective, the cost was more than $1. The price of the coffee was $1, plus sacrificing your opportunity to buy the breakfast sandwich. Once you use your resources to achieve one goal, you do not have them to pursue another goal. Cost-benefit self-interest suggests that we all have to choose how to use our scarce resources to achieve our multiple goals. Right now, you're making a choice. There are only 24 hours in a day. You're taking some of your time to watch this presentation. And that is time that you will never get back. You are using that time and missing out on all of the other things that you could do with that time. Go back to sleep, work additional hours to make money, Netflix and chill, listen to music, play a video game, and lots of other things. The cost of taking this class is not just the cost in tuition dollars, but first, the things that money could have bought, and second, the time you spend working on the course. You do not get to use that time to achieve your other goals. It's gone. Are you still with me? One of the most important things that my stepdad ever said to me was, "Sean, there's no such thing as a free lunch." I was a teenager when he said it, so I don't think that I fully appreciated it at the time. But now that I understand opportunity costs, I understand the true meaning. Imagine that I ask you to lunch in a world where that's possible. You choose the place and I will pay. What is the cost of the lunch for you? I'm paying. Does it cost you anything? Yes. You have to use your limited time to sit there. Worse yet, you are sitting there with me, and I'm probably chattering on about some political stuff that is boring as hell. You got free food, but you still paid a cost in time and annoyance. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Wise words, words that capture the concept of cost-benefit self-interest. Why is this conception of self-interest, the cost-benefit conception of self-interest, important for understanding politics? Because it suggests that in choosing whether to act or not, to participate in politics in particular, individuals will consider the costs of going after what they want, including opportunity costs, in relation to the benefit they will receive from investing their resources. Now that we have developed this competing conception of self-interest, we can formalize some expectations about political participation. In the next presentation, we'll discuss 4 propositions about political participation based on the cost-benefit logic. In a subsequent presentation, we will test the expectations of each type of self-interest to determine which provides us with a better description of political participation. This is the exciting part of political science. So, in the words of Shia LaBeouf,
trust